This is TechCrunch. On Friday, Apple dropped a bombshell that it was suing OpenAI over the alleged theft of trade secrets, claiming that OpenAI stole Apple's confidential data and engaged in efforts to learn proprietary information while recruiting former Apple employees. In accusing OpenAI of stealing secrets about Apple's unreleased products, Apple revealed that a former employee allegedly siphoned reams of sensitive files from the company's shared network folders, weeks after leaving Apple for a job at OpenAI. In its complaint, Apple says the former employee, a system electrical engineer named Chang Liu, allegedly exploited a rare, previously unknown authentication bug that allowed access to the company's network. The bug is classified as a zero-day vulnerability, meaning that Apple had no time to fix it before it was allegedly exploited. Apple has since fixed the bug and said it terminated the employee's access once it learned of this security breach. In its complaint, Apple said the bug could have allowed a few other people to access data on its network, but alleged that only Liu exploited the bug to steal Apple's confidential information while no longer an employee, citing a check of its server logs. The disclosure, while light in detail, highlights the challenges that organizations face with protecting sensitive corporate data after employees no longer work there. Companies often move to immediately cut off departing staff from further access to protect any sensitive information from leaving, including inadvertently. Companies that fail to fully decommission their employees' accounts can face future security lapses, data breaches, or malicious actions by disgruntled staff. Apple did not respond to an email from TechCrunch with questions about the security vulnerability, how it was exploited, or when the company decommissioned the employee's credentials. In the complaint, Apple alleged that Liu took dozens of Apple's confidential hardware-related files over the course of several weeks, while as a new OpenAI employee. Apple said the files contained detailed information about unreleased products, engineering presentations, technical specifications, and proprietary project data. The company claims Liu failed to return the Apple-issued work laptop he had previously used to access Apple's network, suggesting it was once able to send and receive files from Apple's internal systems. The complaint said that Liu allegedly claimed to have another computer. While he was at OpenAI, Liu also allegedly misused the access of an acquaintance, Yuting Peng, a then-Apple employee who later went to work for OpenAI. Liu allegedly used Peng's Apple-issued work laptop while she was still employed at Apple, and he was not. Apple said that during February of this year, Liu tried to access Apple's network storage, a cloud-based file repository containing Apple's confidential engineering files, project documentation, and other proprietary information. Liu had allegedly discovered that he still could access Apple's network repository after leaving Apple, the result of a then-unknown authentication vulnerability. Apple did not describe the authentication bug that Liu allegedly used to access Apple's network, but authentication bugs generally refer to flaws in the login process that allow improper access to systems or data, either because of a weakness in how the login mechanism works or due to a misconfiguration, such as overbroad permissions and not decommissioning the login credentials of a former employee. Apple wrote in its complaint that when Liu learned he had unauthorized access to Apple's systems, he did not report the bug to Apple under his employment agreement obligations, nor did he return his Apple-issued work laptop. The complaint added that Liu also failed to delete the program that allowed the access to Apple's network. The company did not say what program or app that Liu allegedly used to access Apple's systems. It's not uncommon for employees to have tools, such as a work-approved VPN or remote viewing app, that allow them to access sensitive data from outside of the company's offices using their credentials. Given that Liu was previously granted credentials to Apple's network as an employee, TechCrunch asked Apple when the company decommissioned Liu's access, but again, TechCrunch did not hear back. Once Liu allegedly gained access to the network share, he wrote to Peng, "LOL, I found out I can access the network storage. So funny." Apple filed its suit in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California in San Jose and has demanded a jury trial. OpenAI previously said it has no interest in other companies' trade secrets. The case, if it proceeds, could begin this year. Sam Altman and Elon Musk traded barbed social media posts over the weekend, drawing new attention to the gap between vision and reality for the space compute business. Responding to Musk accusing him of being a scammer, Altman said, "Homeboy, you're the one selling public market investors on short-term space data centers." Setting aside Homeboy, Altman is saying what a lot of experts have concluded, but public market investors seem to be ignoring. Space data centers are not going to be a serious business anytime soon. SpaceX's plans to launch a fleet of orbital data centers to perform AI inference tasks are the main driver behind the company's $2 trillion valuation. Bullish analysts say that the potential for that processing power to fuel SpaceX AI's models or act as an orbital neocloud are unprecedented in the AI boom. But when you talk to subject matter experts, whether it's the entrepreneurs behind other space data center startups, the team at Google developing that company's orbital compute project, or engineers who have done the numbers for fun, you find the same answer. This is not going to make a big dent until we have much cheaper rockets and the ability to produce high-powered satellites at low cost en masse. Musk's answer to this is easy to predict. Starship, SpaceX's huge new rocket, is expected to make its 13th test flight as soon as July 16th. If Musk's team can get that vehicle to the point where it flies again and again, the data center business case could close. But even if the company successfully recovers both stages of the rocket on this test flight, operational reusable flight will still likely be years away, and space data center launches will likely take a back seat to SpaceX's commitments to NASA and to building out its own Starlink network. SpaceX also conceded during its IPO roadshow that Starship may not be fully reusable in the near term and will need to throw each of its second stages during each launch, which would put a kibosh on economical space data centers. That's why Musk's rejoinder, "We start flying them next year," falls a bit flat. Now, there's no doubt that SpaceX could launch a satellite equipped for high-speed data processing next year. But the big question is when it will be able to launch and manufacture them at scale. And that's likely a question for the 2030s. That's all for now. For the latest in tech news, go to TechCrunch.com.